Man, I enrolled at Wake Forest in 2018. All I wanted before I graduated was to make the NCAA tournament. Now I'm 2 years out of college and I still haven't made it, but I am so confident that this is finally the year they get back. But the Alonda's year was just heartbreaking. And then last year, you're top 20 in Kempom in late February and you don't make the tournament. And as much as you can point to the little Efton waiver or Hildreth Riss or the non-conference from 2022, at the end of the day, we know Steve Forbes can coach, but it hasn't gotten there. It showed me the money year, but I think everyone's pretty confident that we're going to see it. This is a loaded roster. There's no bots out there. Like it's got depth. It's got everything you want. So Christian Nick here with Connor, back on the show for the second time, who covers Wake alongside Duke on Rivals. So Connor, tell us, like, there's a lot to be excited about with Wake. Just what is the I guess how did we get from the sad ending to last season to bringing in all of these guys and getting Salas to come back because it was a home run off season?
Yeah. It's funny as you go through that, you kind of lose the nuanced discussion of the things that were going wrong at the end of the season last year. And it comes down to brass tacks of it was Steve Forbes' fourth year. It was a really good team and they didn't make it to the tournament. And I think moving into this year, your optimism stems first and foremost from returning a first-team All-ACC player. Alondas Williams was one of those in his 1 year. He was Player of the Year, but that was his final year of eligibility. If I'm not mistaken, Tyree Appleby was a All-ACC player. I was joking with somebody yesterday at Media Day about how we spent so much time and energy tracking whether Alondas would be the first player in ACC history to finish leading the league in scoring and assists. And he ended the regular season doing that. So we all just kind of thought he did, but Buddy Boeheim passed him in the NIT. So Alondas didn't get that, didn't achieve that. Ty Appleby did it easily. Like he cleared both bars, and we just kind of forget about Ty Appleby because that team faded down the stretch. The Damari Monsanto injury obviously was the big one there. And then last year, Hunter Salas comes in as a former McDonald's guy, former 5-star guy, and has a breakout season, first team All-ACC. And you really feel like the tide of Steve Forbes' tenure shifted when he announced he was coming back. When he's in the draft process, he's not in the portal, which is an important distinction because so many guys, when they enter the process, also put their name in the portal to make sure they have all options available to them. He was either going to be on an NBA roster at this time or be where he was for the last couple of days in Charlotte in ACC Media Day representing Wake Forest. So getting Hunter to come back and then adding what they've added through the portal, I saw one practice. I can't tell you how much athleticism just oozes out of Trayvon Spillers and Omaha Ballou, the two guys that are going to step into the roles at the 4 position. I think Omaha can play some small ball 5 if they need him to. Tyler Johnson is a blur. He's so fast. He was maybe the only redeeming piece, or at least young piece from that Louisville team last year that was dreadful. They've added Davin Cosby Jr., who they finished second in recruiting out of high school. Now they get him after a year and a half at Alabama, basically enrolled early. It's a roster that makes you look at it and say, if it doesn't happen for Steve Forbes now, either some injuries have gone really, really badly, or it's just not going to happen at Wake Forest. So it's definitely, like I think Christian, you said, it's a show me year. I agree with that. This roster is built to not only make the NCAA tournament. For the first time, Wake fans get finicky. They always want to say they didn't make the tournament in 2017 because they were in Dayton, but that is making the tournament. But no matter which way you cut it, haven't won an NCAA tournament game since 2010. So Ish Smith won that game against Texas. He had a 14-year NBA career in between Wake Forest winning that game as their last NCAA tournament win and whenever their next one is. And I think this team is built to not only get to the tournament, it's built to win games in the tournament.
nobody was. I try to keep my bias away from being a fan of sports teams. I'm not really a fan of, but Wake Forest had my heart last season, and Chris knows this that when they lost to Notre Dame, I was heartbroken because I knew it was another year of Forbes, who I love. I'm not getting to the tournament. And nobody banged the drum of Hunter Sallis is about to be this breakout player more than me. So I love seeing him succeed. I think he's going to be the ACC Player of the Year. That's my bold take this year, is that he's the ACC Player of the Year over Cooper Flagg, RJ Davis, and other guys. And they're going to get to the tournament. Like, surely this is the year. It honestly feels like now or never with this loaded roster he has. He's always done more with less. And now I feel like the talent is there with, like, Reed coming back, Hildreth, Spiller, Tyler Johnson. Like, he's got dudes. So, like, it's now or never, honestly. I just want to ask you this before we dive into the personnel full on. How close was Hunter to leaving for the NBA? And, just what is his connection with Forbes like that? He came back. Like, that was a big deal. So just talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was right there. If I'm not mistaken on the timing, his announcement that he was coming back was either a day or two before the deadline. I don't think it was quite an 11th hour decision. I mean, he did everything that you would want to do. He had workouts with teams. He went to the combine. I'm not going to pretend to know all the details of how he did at the combine, but I don't think he embarrassed himself or anything. Like, I think he showed that he could be an NBA guard. I know the one sticking point there is I think the NBA wants him to be a point guard. He didn't initiate. He wasn't seen as the initiator all that much for Wake last year. That was more Boopy Miller. The relationship between him and Forbes, though, it's from every indication, from everything behind the scenes, it's fantastic. And that's kind of what Steve does, right? He brings guys in that for one reason or another have not had the success early in their career. Talking about the transfer portal guys who have not had the success early in their careers that they thought they would. I mean, Alondas was playing like, I don't know, 12 minutes a game for Oklahoma, but he was also behind Austin Reeves.
Yeah.
So what I think, I hope Steve wouldn't get mad at me for saying this, but I think the best thing Steve does as a coach is instill confidence in guys. Like, he's able to build them back. If a guy has had a year or two at another school where they haven't had the type of impact they wanted, they haven't gotten the minutes that they wanted, they come to Wake Forest and seem to thrive. They seem to rediscover their love for the game. That was one of the main things about Hunter last year, and that he was talking about how he kind of lost a little bit of the fire at Gonzaga. He was playing in a crowded backcourt for a really good program, but he wasn't doing the things that we saw him do last year. He was explosive. He was a shooter. Those were revelations. And so I had some fun talking with Hunter at ACC Media Day about how, like, he understands he's kind of in the minority now of the players that he's back for a senior year of college basketball, when he could have been either a first rounder or an early second round pick. He could have had a guaranteed contract, but he wants to play college basketball. Like, he wants to solidify he told me he wants to solidify his college basketball legacy. I mean, and that's one of the things that gets lost these days is the NBA is going to be there. Like, they're not going to, it's not going to disapparate like the Pac-12 did or anything like that. Like, it's going to be there for you in the future. And so it was his decision to come back and kind of play through his year. And he's also going to get a Wake Forest degree. I didn't know that until he told me. I guess I could have guessed it, but he's going to get his degree in the spring.
And he's also getting a bag. We know that definitely the offer.
That one's a given.
Good to see that Wake was able to compete with the big dogs and keep their guy like that. Sallis, so knockdown 3-point shooter, so good at getting to the paint and getting his bucket. He doesn't always get all the way to the rim when he finishes, but Forbes loves guys playing off 2 feet, and there's so many different his bag of trips, his touch from, I said bag of tricks, and then his touch just on those just mini fadeaways or just elevating over guys using athleticism. I agree that seeing his playmaking take another step up would be big for him. And the other thing is I want to see him be a lockdown perimeter defender. Like he's got the traits to do it. That's how, if he is an off guard, if he's not a point guard, like if he can be a legit, he's got the 3, but can he be a really good perimeter defender is what I want to see from him. You talk about the instilling the confidence and bringing guys over. I guess the only miss on that was Jawatuka, but he had the injury, so I don't want to fully say that and whatever else. But
man, I'll go to my grave saying that Jow, we saw more than one practice the preseason going into his first year at Wake. He was good. Like he was explosive. That was the year after Alondas. I kind of thought he was the guy and not Ty Appleby who could get penetration and create for others in the lane. It never played out because of the injuries.
Right. I always wanted to, but it all points to Tyler Johnson. And, I've been breaking him down a bit. There's like, he had that 27.11 assist game at Florida State. You mentioned he's a blur, super quick. He's got a little bit of a mid-range bag too. I have so much confidence in Forbes to get him to be, I think he can be better than Boopy just with he looks taller than 6 feet tall out there. And like, I guess my one concern with him is sometimes he just seems like a little just off balance or like a little raw, just like a little bit crazy. He's got a hand, like he's broken some ankles. He had some nice behind the back passes and stuff. Like he's skillful. And I don't know how much of it just came from the chaos of Louisville, but I just have the utmost confidence in his profile as a guard, just coming into this system and also not needing a ton from him. It's like Ty Albee had to come in and do so much for this team. It's like, He doesn't have to go crazy with the amount of depth this team has. But I think he can really add a fun dimension from the backcourt. So do you think he's definitely the starting point guard and whether it's his 3-point shot or just kind of polishing up some of the rawness to his game? How has that all been going for him this summer?
I actually think you'll see a starting lineup with three guards in the starting lineup, but one of them won't be Tyler. I think it'll be Salas, Hildreth, and Parker Fredrickson. And Cam is just so tough and sturdy that you can match him up against a wing who might have a couple inches on him and still feel decent about not giving up that size. And you're going to be switching anyway with how versatile you're going to be at the 4 position with either Trey or Omaha in there. And then you're going to have Efton at the rim to clean some things up. I think Tyler is still going to play, 18, 22, 25 minutes a game. Like he's still going to be out there. And when he's out there, he's going to be your point guard and facilitator. If you're getting pressed in the backcourt, I think you definitely want him in the game because he's probably, I don't want to say probably the one guy on the team who can break a press with just his dribble, but he's the guy you feel best about breaking a press with the dribble, right? So I think when you say he's going to be better than Boopy, I think you got to qualify that with he's not going to score as much as Boopy, but he's such a better fit for being a facilitator, being a pass first guy, being able to throw lobs to the rim. You can have some guys that can jump out of the gym with the athleticism of the front court. I think that's where Tyler is going to be the improvement. I'm not sure on the defensive end. I know the quick guy and small guy, you want to be able to pester some people in the backcourt with him. But yeah, I think you're starting with Salas, Hildreth, and Fredrickson. I think they're really high on the ability of Parker to stretch the floor. That Forbes said the stat the other day. He was like a 37 or 36% 3-point shooter, and he finished shooting 2 for 22 down the stretch. So you're banking on him not doing that. He's added a lot of weight. He should be a little more durable, able to kind of get his shot off even quicker. So yeah, I think that's where they are in the backcourt right now.
And yeah, I think you made a good point. To clarify, I don't mean he's going to outproduce Boopy's numbers. I just think in terms of his fit alongside, because obviously Boopy put up good numbers last year, but like they were just situationally, I think they could have won more games if there was better point guard play is what I meant to say. And then on Parker, great to hear him putting on all that weight. Obviously we saw the flashes last year of the shooting obviously is his best skill, but his passing, his feel for the game stood out as a freshman, and I'm cool with him starting. And I think Salas and Hildreth have enough playmaking ability as, I guess, not true point guards that it's fine to bring a guy like Tyler off the bench. I want to also talk about just the changing complexion of the front court. The second I saw Spillers in Omaha, and then even throwing Churchill at Bass from DePaul, who was, I thought, their best player last year. Like, you get these guys in the Iowa State Houston mold of these just energy bigs who can rebound, and maybe they're not the most skilled offensive players, but can fill a role, and we're going to defend and rebound and just bring energy in a way that, I don't know, sometimes Wake was laughing. Efton was a good defender last year, and I don't want to just rag on Matt Marsh, but just like, there were just times in the front court where, and Andrew Carr was a good defender too, but there's just a different complexion just having athletes like this. Like, and I think that's really going to fit. Just, when you have such talented guards, they don't need to, I guess, like, have super offensive skill. And I understand when you had Andrew Carr and Efton Reed, it's like, oh, like Andrew Carr can shoot threes, and Efton, you play through the post, and he wants to think he can shoot threes too. But I don't know, I'm fine, I guess, with having more defensive minded energy bigs. And I think that was a priority, seeing the consistency in the profile between those guys. Spiller's just a proven winner. Omaha, the 5-star, and then Abbas is like kind of waiting in the wings. They don't even need him to be good. Like, I just think that's really exciting. So was that a priority of having guys in that mold, getting them from the portal?
Pretty much. The priority is basically summed up as they needed to get tougher. They needed to get guys that could play tougher. And you have to kind of thread the needle here without disparaging Boopy when you talk about the backcourt, without disparaging Andrew Carr, because he did give Wake Forest 2 really good seasons. He was very versatile. He played out of position a lot when he was playing the 5, when Efton wasn't eligible, when Matt Marsh was trying to figure things out. But you also have to be realistic about what his limitations were. And Andrew was a finesse big. And I don't think there's anything finesse about the games of Trayvon Spillers or Omaha Blue or Churchill Abbas. Churchill Abbas is built like I don't know what your policy on cursing is on here, but he's just built like a brick shithouse. I mean, he is massive and sturdy and athletic. And I think that helps Efton to know that he's got that behind him. It's a front court that you're hitting the nail on the head. It looks a lot different than last year's front court does. It looks a lot more versatile. It looks like a lot more of a front court that you feel comfortable with switching. You feel comfortable with trapping with guys like Trayvon and Omaha, who are active and athletic and rangy. All those buzzwords that you want to use in pick and roll coverages. I mean, that's what they are. That's who they are. And you're right. Like, I don't think we're going to see any 25-point games on 9 of 12 shooting from either Trey or Omaha, but I think you're going to see some like 13-point, 11 rebound, 4 block game from one or the other. And that's really going to win you game. That's what this team needs. When you talk about what the backcourt has and the scoring prowess of Salas and Hildreth, what they think they're going to get from Parker, you don't need a forward to go out there and score 20 points a game for you to win games. You need some, to use Steve's term, you need some grittiness, griminess, and you need guys that are going to be toughened together.
Nick, I'm gonna let you get one in. I'm sorry, 1 second. Just a quick echo of the forwards in the front court and the pick and roll coverage. You can play the drop with Efton. Efton also mobile enough to get out there and hedge, and then the trapping ability with Omaha and Spillers, like, it's starting to shift towards closer to East Tennessee State Forbes, I feel like. And I think that's the GG, gritty, grimy, tough together stuff. And, like, you're right, the toughness, very exciting. And I think this team could be even better defensively than they are offensively, which I am excited about. Nick, go ahead. What direction you want to go now?
Yeah, before we leave that one, just let's call a spade here. Matthew Marsh was a big stiff. So bringing Omaha and Trayvon, like, versatility there is night and day difference, and will help immensely. I just want to say this, and then I'll ask a question about Juke Harris. Wake Forest ranked last year 351st in bench minutes. I think ultimately that's what really hurt them when they had to win those must-win road games at Virginia Tech and Notre Dame. Like, you could feed off the home crowd, and that's why you beat Duke. But you still need a bench for those road games. And, like, we talked about so many of these guys already, and I love that Forbes has depth. And there's one guy I look at, top 100 recruit freshman Juke Harris. I know he'll obviously be coming off the bench, but what is his role, and just how do you see him going year one?
Dude, I'm a big Juke believer. I saw him play in high school. I saw him play in a couple All-Star games. He is 6'6", 6'7". I love the thing I love most about his game is how creative of a finisher he is inside. And that's not going to translate as much this year. Like he needs to add weight in his upper body. But it's there. And he is a crafty finisher around the rim. He had a great scrimmage shooting the ball the other weekend. I think he was like 5 for 11 or 5 for 8 on 3-pointers, something like that. I think he's going to help them more than people realize. And to your point about depth, that's where this team looks like the ETSU teams that Steve had. I think it's 3 years in a row that Wake has had somebody in the ACC, or 2 guys in the top 10 of the ACC in minutes per game. And as good as it is to have guys like Alondas and Jake and Ty Appleby that you can count on being on the floor and still being strong, I think that's hurt them in once you get to late February and early March when you need to win games, and those guys have just been rode so hard. And part of it has had to do with some early season stuff. When they haven't gotten off to good starts, you have to win every single game. You have to play the margins with the net. We all know about how margin of victory is influenced. So I think the depth of this team is going to be really important to track, and I think it is a lot better of a place than it was the last 3 years.
Also, I think something that I don't know if I really gave enough credit to last season was like Forbes had bigger fish to fry in his life also than Wake Forest basketball with his wife and her the stroke, and it's so inspiring seeing her do better. And like I just think I don't know, that journey, like, plus just being in year 5 at Wake, it just seems like it's finally Steve Forbes' time. It's finally Wake Forest times. They have the players, the pieces fit. You have the versatility of the depth. I'm just very excited for him and for this program. I think it's just been so long awaited to finally get back there. And that's what was so disheartening about the 2 teams that didn't make the tournament is we know they could have won games if they got there.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's emotional because obviously everything he's gone through, the fan base is very emotional. I just think it's going to be such a sweet payoff moment to see this team really come together and just ball out this year. Like the Joel was rocking last year when I went to the only game I went to was the Duke game, and I'd never seen that environment. Even the most exciting games of my time, it was never that. And I don't know. Tons of reasons to be excited. Any last notes to leave us on, Connor? Anything you heard from Media Day? We didn't talk about Davin Cosby from Alabama, who's obviously a talented guy. That's a good program. He comes from a winning program. Talented player. Marion was, had to kind of thrown into the fire a bit last year, but I thought he held up fine. And like, he's got some interesting things going on. And then the freshman Mason Hagedorn, I assume he's more of a developmental piece now, but whether it's those guys or just anything you've heard from Media Day, anything to watch out for, what do you got?
No, I think the biggest thing for Media Day was Cam Hildreth's wrist is still broken, but he elected not to have surgery on it because he just kind of figured he's dealt with the pain. It doesn't hurt him anymore. It's one of those things where it's kind of healed itself, and he's one of the tougher players that I've covered, not just at Wake, but anywhere, I think. He's played through some bumps and bruises. Just the nature of his game, he's going to be beat up at throughout points of the year. But it's just it's one of those things where if he'd had the surgery, he would have lost 20% motion in his wrist. So the way he explained it to me was every injury that athletes have is going to cause arthritis. So he's just comfortable with having arthritis maybe earlier in his life in his wrist, but he didn't want to miss any time. He's able to deal with whatever pain comes from it, and it'll be something to monitor because he was shooting about 42% at the time of the injury last year on threes, and he put so much time into improving that part of his game. So that's going to be one of the games within a games that you watch with Wake this year.
Are you expecting him to be shooting the ball off from deep?
I don't think I expect 42%. Like that was
Give me 35. I'm happy with it.
yeah, and 30 between 35 and 38 is an improvement of where he was as a freshman and sophomore when he couldn't be trusted from out there at all. So I think that you'll see not the same types, like you won't see many 4 for 6s or 5 for 7s from him, but you also won't see any 1 for 6s or 1 for 8s like he had shortly after the injury and a lot of freshman, sophomore.
Didn't talk about Efton Reed much. He's great. There's just two tiny things about him that just drive me crazy. One is he beats his guy on the block and he doesn't use the backboard. And I don't know why. He'll have his great spin move and just lay it off all the backboard. And I know he's got a nice touch, but use the freaking backboard. I hope he does that this year. And the second thing is the foul. So, and now it's like, it's okay if he gets in foul trouble. It's not the end of the world, but he fouled more than like anyone in the country last year. It was unreal. And they lost games because of it. It was just another frustrating aspect. Anything on Efton you've heard? Obviously was a great, obviously changed the team when he was able to play defensively, and whether he's shooting threes or not, still a skilled offensive player. And he plays really hard.
Yeah, I think you're pretty solid with Efton. I think you're not expecting him to average a double-double or anything. It's more about leadership with Efton. He's the vocal voice. He really, even when he was out for 7 games last year, he was leading from the bench. He's a guy that I think every team would want to have.
100%. Well, go Deeks. Thank you so much for joining us, Connor. Nick, this is the year, right? No words. All right.
We can only pray. We can only pray. It's in God's hands at this point.
If not now, then it's never happening. But I'm very confident. I would be shocked, devastated. That something would have to go terribly wrong for this team not to make the tournament is how I feel. So see you in March.